Yo guys, what's up? We're here for another edition of Across the Pitch with myself, Dave Miller, and Mike Guerrero just across from me. Mike, I think we're in seventh head.
We are. I just spilled my drink all over myself. It's kind of chaotic how the day started. Adam, I just want to put his post up real quick. Adam, thanks for joining us as you always do. 7. That is a number. That is the name of the show tonight because of last night's historic win against DC United. It was an absolutely incredible performance, Dave. I'm still watching highlights of it. It was absolutely
Yeah,
amazing. How you doing tonight?
yeah, good. Obviously, it's great that we're coming on here and we're not just discussing the win, we're discussing that final breakout game. It took them 3 months to get there, but
Hmm.
fine discussing the breakout game, an incredible win, the best win in team history, the joint best sort of like winning margin in MLS history. It's been a great weekend for the Union.
Yeah, well, it's funny because the week leading up to this game was a bit tense, right? So we had the letdown against Chicago, right? You beat NYCFC. We haven't had a show in a couple weeks because I was on vacation and you were working, so it was like a weird mix of 2 weeks absence. So we get the great win against NYCFC, right? And then we go to Chicago, we have the dud, and then with like a skeleton crew, Jim Curtin manages to pull out a draw against Columbus. So we come into this week now ready to come home, ready to take on DC United. We've played well against them in the past, and then Jack DeVries transfer. It's official. He's gone for good now. And then to make matters worse, Stuart Findlay. He's gone. Right? He goes to Oxford United, which is fine. But the most impactful move that we saw this week was Sergio Santos is being dealt to Cincinnati, or Union 2.0 at this point, for $300,000 in GAM and then $700,000 in incentives GAM as well. So it's a pretty lucrative deal overall, considering the quality of player. And what I mean by quality of player, I mean someone who cannot play 90 minutes, someone who cannot stay healthy, and somebody who, frankly, is not the best finisher.
No.
So that all led to a very tense beginning to Friday's match. And then from there, it was just pure chaos. Dave, what were your thoughts and emotions throughout the whole week's drama with all the transfers?
You forgot the big one, which is Beto Orvich being released,
Oh,
obviously, from which
excuse
percent
me, Dave. I'm so sorry.
sexy season no more. Yeah, obviously it's disappointing to see another key member of that 2020 Supporter
Mhm.
Shield team go. Again, I think you look at that team, Sergio played a bigger role than Casper did.
Yeah.
Some of the goals
Yep.
he scored and the big role he played in the MLS is back up as well, which sort of again that was at the time when there wasn't much football on.
Yeah.
That was one of the only real tournaments actually being played globally at the time on the national audience, and so people were actually able to watch the Union play at reasonable times
Hmm.
during a lockdown where there wasn't much sport on, not just in America but globally as well in Europe. And players like Sergio Santos sort of were the star players in that sort of spell. And again, obviously he's tailed off a bit, and the Union have adapted, they've evolved. We've seen they've gotten better in attack, but again, it's a shame to see another key player of what has really kick-started this sort of resurgence leave. Again, it wasn't. I'm liking it to Casper in the sense that, again, I don't think the Union are here where they are without Sergio Santos. So it's a shame to
Right.
see him leave. I don't think he'll get the praise and appreciation he perhaps somewhat does deserve. Again, I think going back to Casper, I think not people really do underrate the impact that a player like Casper Shabirko had in this on the franchise and on the
Right.
club. And again, we probably won't see that sentiment shared, on social media, or whatever, over the coming weeks as the deal goes through and everything.
Yeah, it's funny because so as you guys know, I'm in media. I'm in the press box for the games, and I was able to speak with Bedoya after the game. A handful of us were there in the locker room, and I I was waiting for somebody to ask about Santos, and nobody asked. So I had Bedoya. I was like, "Hey, tell me about Santos. Like, what's going on? How was the reaction?" And he said, it's a big locker room loss. Like he was a great um, locker room guy, happy, dancing, having fun. But then Ali does kind of mention in the professional and business side of things, he had potential, but he couldn't see the field for 90 minutes. And he lays out what I just said, a couple seconds ago. So I think the writing was on the wall that they had to move on. They had to get better. And this was also an expiring contract. So now
Yeah,
you have a couple things in play. One, you get Casper for what, a million or so, right? Um, Julian Carranza, according to Tom Bogart, who just released this but yesterday, has a $500,000 purchase off Miami. So that's some news that's pretty amazing, right? Considering how good he's
yeah,
playing. And then you get $300,000 and more with Sergio. So
yeah,
you see the writing on the walls. They're using that money to pay for Julian and now being tied to a Czech Republic attacking midfielder. It's clear that Tanner saw last year, okay, let me get rid of Jamiro, Casper, Santos, and change the makeup of this locker room and this lineup. But, Dave, to your point with Casper, as much as Casper had some good moments, he also had plenty bad moments as well in terms of not being able to score, going through droughts. But Sergio had his same ups and downs. But it
yeah,
feels like Sergio is so much more beloved than Casper ever was. Is
yeah.
that do you agree with that too?
Yeah, I think so. I think obviously Sergio was definitely a more flashy player, wasn't he? He was definitely a player like for his pace. And I think for a team that does lack a plan B, I think it was frustrating to see a player like Sergio go because again he can
Yep.
offer something different. He can be versatile. He can play not just as a striker, he can play out wide if you want to try and change the formation. But then again, from the business perspective, I understand that he's got less than 6 months left in his contract. He currently can't get into the country due to like visa issues, green card issues, whatever. Why not trade him away and just recoup what you can for a player that likely might end up only playing 10 games between now and the end of the season if he can't get the visa sorted quick enough.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing too is that we saw it after the Portland match. After he scored, he kind of like aggravated his leg. I don't know if you remember
Mm,
that. He went down to celebrate. He aggravated his leg. So even if he comes back from visa issues, um, he's just not seeing the field enough. He never
yeah,
has really over his career. That's always been one of those issues. So I'm okay with it. I know he's a fan favorite. I know that the Union players were pretty adamant and open with being upset by it. You saw Kai Wagner posting on Instagram. You saw, I think Jose Martinez posting on Instagram
about
about it.
that.
I think even Elsinho had a comment on it. So it's clear that the move was not liked, but I do appreciate that Ali said last night, like, "Hey, I understand the business side of things, right?"
Yeah,
Without saying it, he said like they have to make the hard decisions. The front office has to make these choices, and the reality is that if you needed a goal, Sergio Santos was not somebody who you thought could guarantee get you a goal when he went out there.
yeah,
Could he cause havoc? Sure. Could he maybe make a couple assists? Which he did have a couple assists this year. Could he get
yeah,
that? Sure. But when you needed him to score, he was not very much on target or
no,
reliable. So, um, wish him all the best. I love Sergio. He was a great personality, as Ali said. But um, on top of that, though, Stuart Finley's gone. Any thoughts on Stuart? I know he didn't play much, but
well,
any
I mean,
thoughts on that
no, he
move?
was at the game yesterday.
What was it?
He was at the game yesterday, so I don't think the deal was
In
done.
Philly?
Yeah,
Hmm. I didn't
I
even
believe,
know that.
I believe Townsend put out a tweet saying that he'd seen him on the press area. I think the deal's like I don't think the deal's 100% done. I think at the moment it's just still like in the room stage or at least the negotiation stage. I think because again it's a lot different. This would be a straight up need both teams need to agree on a fee, like a transfer fee, as opposed to allocation money and trading and stuff like that. Because obviously that doesn't really work. If you know what I mean, in
Yeah.
terms of the European game. But yeah, I mean, again, obviously Finley is a shame again. He fell victim to the I don't know how to explain it. Really. Fell victim to the consistent, or Jim Curtin's consistent 11 or naming of his starting 11, things such as that. And again, he can't really break beyond Jack Elliott and um, Jack and Gresnes. It's a shame to see him go, but I'm sure Oxford will be getting a very good player. To build up. Well, possibly starting League One next season.
Yeah, and also on top of that, so we saw over the past week and a half during our absence from the show, the US Youth National Team won the U20 CONCACAF Championship. Great news. On top of that, Brandon Craig, Paxton Aronson, Jack McGlynn, and Quinn Sullivan all played pretty important parts. They were all in the starting lineup. They scored like crazy. Paxton won the Golden Boot and like the best player of the tournament award. So he was shining on the biggest stage. But Brandon Craig played really well on the back line.
Yeah,
And it's basically who would ever replace Jack or Jacob? Is it going to be Stewart long term? No, it's probably going to be Brandon Craig.
yeah,
So with his his rising stock, I guess you want to call it, it's clear that Stewart was the odd man out, right? Because you're just not going to take Jacob or Jack out, especially not Jack Elliott after he played as well as he did last night, and he just won defensive mid. He won Defender of the Year like mid-season award. That's if we want to call it that, via the MLS. So he's obviously getting better, getting more recognized. So you're not going to put Stewart in there. So you might as well develop
no.
Brendan on the first team and just bid Stewart goodbye, which is what he wanted to do over the offseason anyway. So it kind of
Yeah,
fits everybody's needs, and it just again another locker room presence that you hate
I
to see
think
leave. But go ahead. Yep,
they'll need to sign another centre back though, because I mean,
they
if
will. Yep.
Brandon Craig gets injured or one gets injured, they're screwed. Because again, you haven't got any options to go play at centre back. Quickly on the quick adjustment, the tweet was from Matt DeGeorge actually, who
Okay.
tweeted about seeing Findlay at the game yesterday, getting food in like, the press lounge or wherever it was. But yeah, I think I think it's a good move for Finley. I think again, if he's not playing, if he's not being used, yeah, move him on, let him go play. Because again, you don't if the player's not happy, he wants to be playing consistent football. You can't hold him to that forever. So I think it's
No.
good to see him getting his chance. But again, this team needs another experienced defender now to be signed. Whether it's just an Elvis Powell level signing that the union obviously made last year, who has MLS experience you can rely upon just to come in and play straight away. That's the sort of sign they need because they can't go in for the rest of the season with just three centre backs. Because as soon as you lose one player, you're in a whole lot of trouble if another one gets suspended or injured.
Exactly, and we've already had constant rotation throughout the year, especially from the striker position, which is what Jim and Allie and Julian mentioned in the press conference last night, having that rotating door of movement. Sergio was out, and then Burke was playing a lot, and then Ua was out, and then Carranza was suspended. So there's so much movement already in this lineup. The last thing you want is to have that happen in the back line without the backup depth to be there to take over, especially for how good this team is defensively right now. You don't want to have that, obviously become now an issue moving forward.
Yeah.
But we saw last night, and I'm going to bring up Adam's comment right here real quick. When I saw the final score, I was like, that is a high score for a soccer. Don't see that often. So if somebody's watching this and you don't know what happened last night, the Union destroyed DC United 7-0. And the score in the first half alone was 5-0. Um, I couldn't believe it at all. I thought maybe 2-0, 2-1 because the Union have not been able to just blow somebody out. As you and I have talked about over and over again on this show, we've been waiting for that second goal, third goal every single week. They score early, right? That's the first thing I thought. When Ali scored in the ninth minute, I was like, okay, when are they going to give up this lead? When are they
Good
going to blow
stuff.
it?
Yeah.
And they didn't. They were so relentless in their attack. Um, I mean, what were your as you've had 24 hours to think about it? How has your brain processed that win?
Um. Again, I think it's hard to disagree that it isn't that it was just a fantastic win all round. Really, I don't think you can look at any other way. I think again, Ali Bedoya scores that first goal. I think I'll get in there. Great to see him. Getting on the score sheet, and then there's always that that doubt in the back of your mind. It's like, okay, they won the lap for how long, or they do need the second goal. They did get the second goal, and you still thought, Union, and then all everything was put to rest as Carranza scored twice in 3 minutes and somewhat
Yeah,
killed the game off after 25 minutes. Um, Again, I think the Bedoya goal was a good one. He cut in on his left foot and bent one around into the far corner.
mhm,
Carranza scored a bicycle, scored like an overhead kick, scissor kick thing, and it again. It was just clinical finishing from the Union in that first half. When the chances came up, they took them, and that's sort of that's the killer instinct that clinical finishing this team's lacked all year. And so, like, to put it into context, they had 12 shots on target. One was a penalty. Take it off the board. They scored 7 of their 11 shots on target.
That's amazing.
Um, yeah, I mean, obviously some very, very questionable defending. I think you watched the game and just
Huh.
DC United were just cut open every single time. They couldn't deal with any of it
Was there
somehow.
any defending last night? Because I didn't see it from I didn't see it from
That's what I
DC's
mean.
side.
Like,
Oh my
they
god.
literally couldn't handle it. And it's something I haven't seen all year. 'Cause for me, again, obviously, the Union perhaps looked a bit more aggressive going forward. But in terms of like shape and everything, it wasn't like anything changed than before. I think listening to the commentary, I think the only maybe tactical change or like little thing they did to perhaps make things work was bring the two strikers and Gazdag so much closer together so they can sort of act as a three and just sort of like rotate where they are and try and cause havoc in that sort of advanced area, and it seemed to work.
So I just brought up the press conference notes that I had. If you guys can see my entire post match press conference thread, you can go on my Twitter, Embraer1323, and read it there. One significant change that Curtin brought up was the fact that Ali Bedoya was actually brought back a bit more, which allowed Nathan Harrell to go higher up the pitch,
Yeah,
which I thought was a great idea to kind of get Nathan more involved in the offense. So, but in terms of the what you said, that the offensive confidence and the precision, we have seen Ua have chances to score, and he just has been a little bit off. Right, you can see that it's not there yet. Last
yeah,
night we were talking, which I mentioned in my article as well. You and I were talking, Jose and I were talking, and we said like, "Where's Ua been tonight? Everybody's on fire and all cylinders, and he's not there." And then he gets his chance 2 times, and he does it so effortlessly to score those 2 goals. It was just
yeah,
textbook, a nice low shot to the corner post, and then the volley that kind of ricocheted off a defender. But
yeah,
more importantly, too, you saw the chemistry building with him and with him and Gazdag rather.
yeah,
Obviously, on his run that they had to score the goal, Daniel gets the ball, and Ua's run off the ball was so perfectly timed. And then as the ball was coming to him, he had like a bit of a stutter step. DC United player fell down, and sure enough, he was able to finish. But
yeah.
the luck just seemed to go our way, right? Even Ali Bedoya's
All right.
header. How many times have we seen a header like that go over the post? Tons of times.
Or even just
Jack,
loop into the goalkeeper's arms and
exactly. Jack Elliott muffed the corner kick from Kai Wagner. You think, okay, the keeper's going to get it. No, right to Julian for a bicycle kick.
yeah,
It just, we missed the penalty. Oh no, here's our luck coming back to bite us. Nope, Julian's going to have a beautiful goal 2 seconds later. It was just every time we had a moment where we thought bad luck was going to go our way, Nathan Harrell's missed goal, right? It just always came back around, and it was just clinical in every sense of
yeah.
the way. Um, and I don't know. Go ahead. Any other thoughts on the game, or somebody who stood out to you in particular?
I mean, again, as you said, it was just like even perhaps playing with a bit of a short memory as well. I mean,
Yep.
sometimes when you are 4-0, 5-0 up, you sort of sit off and you just let the opposition come at you. You don't try and hurt yourself. The Union stayed relentless and went for it as much as as much as they could throughout the second half. It was never going to last. They weren't going to win both halves 5-0 and dominate the second half like they did the first. Obviously,
Right.
there was always going to be a reaction from. Yeah, there was. I mean, there was always going to be a reaction from DC United. They were always going to create chances in the second half and try and take the front foot, and that's where the Union had to pick them apart, and at times they did that really well. Yeah, I think it was obviously a landmark win. I think in terms of players that stood out, I think Bedoya was fantastic.
Yep.
Again, I think he's had some really good games this season. I think apart from Andre Blake, in terms of outfield players, he's really in with the shout for being this team's MVP this year because
Yep.
again, some of the work he's done has been so under the radar. He scored important goals. He's been a workhorse down the field, playing 90 minutes, running up and down the field. He looks better going forward as well. Looks more confident in attacking areas, willing to attack, play crosses into the box, take shots, take his chances. And I think yesterday he was rewarded.
And so the first goal kind of highlights what you're talking about. So
Yeah,
Glesson's had the ball out of the back. He gives it to Jose around the midfield mark. And as soon as if you watch the aerial view of that goal from the the press angle,
yeah,
as soon as Jose gets the ball, you see Bedoya kind of trickling in, and he takes off at the right time. And Jose, beautiful ball. that might be one of Jose's best passes ever. I mean, that thing was right on the
Yeah,
money. But Bedoya's trap on that ball could have easily gone way out towards like the
yeah,
goal line or something. He trapped it at such the right angle that it went right to his left foot. And I
yeah,
mean, the finish itself was great too. But we've seen that now a few times where Bedoya he looks not only healthy, he looks like he's in better shape than he was last year. How many times do we say Bedoya looks gassed? We don't say that nearly as often as we ever had, as we did last year. And he's contributing in a lot of ways. Is
yeah,
he this prolific attacking midfielder? No, but he's doing a lot that, as you said, goes under the radar. Same with Jack Elliott. Jack had a really, really strong game last night,
yeah.
and it was very much under the radar, not in the books, kind of thing. Just goes out and does his job. But yeah, credit to Bedoya, man. He's been
Yeah.
a fountain of youth this past season.
I think again, even at some of the games where he wasn't really that heavily involved, but the impact he had on the game defensively was huge. Again, the LAFC game, I know the Indians didn't win it, but his presence, his defensive acumen, sort of like realised, okay, the best player on the field is Carlos Vela.
Hmm.
I'm going to risk my attacking duties to, sit in and just help Nathan out against one of the best wingers and one of the best players in the MLS and MLS history. And as a collective together, they both stopped him, and it probably had the come away with a valuable point from LA. Yeah, I think it was a win that had been a long time coming. It's sort of
Yeah.
you saw parts of other performances where the team had been unlucky, not clinical enough, and luck going their way. But in terms of like chances going in, I think with the header, as you mentioned, like you see it so often, loop into the keeper's hands,
Yep.
go wide, go over the top of the bar. But this time it's perfectly over the goalkeeper into the back of the net. Again, Carranza being able to peel off unmarked with the scissor kick, and to have three goal scorers and players. It was big for Uar to score two goals, and it was great to see Carranza score a hat trick. That's obviously going to be the strike partnership of the future anyway.
So I'm going to talk about Carranza real quick because of the penalty kick. So if you guys watched the game last night, you saw that Carranza contributed in part to the penalty kick. Um, as soon as the ball hits the ground, Brujo takes off and grabs the ball,
Yeah,
tries to get the right to hit the penalty kick. Ali and Julian, both of whom had a brace, go up to him, talk to him, relentlessly. No, he's relentless in his desire to take this kick, but ultimately he comes off. He's all pissed off. Julian's the one who takes the kick. I showed you the video of the kick. It wasn't a very good shot.
no,
Personally, he probably could have hit it a little bit further right. Excuse me. I understand what he was doing. He was trying to make the keeper dive one way, which he did. The keeper dove to the right. The problem is
yeah,
his shot was too soft and was too close to the keeper. So whatever. But Brujo was visibly upset afterwards. He comes out of the game. He looks, defeated, etc. So the fans were livid. That was the one thing that pissed the fans off, was the fact that Jose acted that way. So
yeah,
when Jim was asked about it after the match, he said that, for one, Daniel is the penalty kick taker, right? He was not in the game at the time, so Julian is the next one up. Him and Daniel have been practicing together the penalty kicks, so that's why he's the next one in line.
yeah,
On top of that, apparently Jose had a message on his shirt that he wanted to show off, but Jim said after the game, he's like, if he showed off that message, he would have gotten a yellow card, which means he would have been suspended for the next match. So it's like, if you're gonna do that,
yeah.
tell us. Tell us you're ahead of time you're gonna do that, so that way we know these things ahead of time. He says it wasn't really communicated well. So,
I guess
but that
obviously he hasn't
yeah, it
scored an
clears up
MLS
it
goal.
clears up the issue there. But yeah, go ahead.
He hasn't scored an MLS goal either, so I can understand it from his perspective. Well, we're 6-0 up. Can I just take the penalty? Can I step up and take it? Just if I miss, it doesn't matter. I want to score my first MLS goal ever. I can understand from that perspective, but
Yeah,
again, like if he was just to go up and say I want to take it, score my first MLS goal. No, sorry, we're both on hat tricks. Julian's the double two penalty taker, and he goes, okay, yeah, fair enough. I'll step back, but to go mental if you want to come off the pitch and stuff like that,
exactly.
yeah, it's not great. I mean, I guess in terms of the message on the shirt, he might not have been yellow carded because he could. Because the whole like taking your shirt off thing is really weird because you can literally just lift up your shirt, or you can lift the top of like the front of your shirt and
Yeah,
put it
you
over your
just can't
head,
take it off, right?
or wrap it over your head, so the t-shirt's not fully off, and you could have still shown the message or whatever. But as you said, it's probably one big miscommunication, and yeah, it's not something to harp back on. I'm sure it would have been sorted and addressed in the dressing room because Jim, in terms of man management, is very good with stuff like that.
Yeah, and okay, great segue to my next point here. So after the Chicago game, apparently Jim said that he basically had Burke and Donovan starting against the Crew as kind of like a message to Ua and Julian, basically saying like, the performance against Chicago wasn't good enough. That's how I took the way he said it. But it
Mm-hmm.
does seem like Jim wants to hold people accountable. And I'm also going to go back 1 second. I forgot to mention something too. We're talking about Ali Bedoya and how well he's played this year. That is certainly also in part with how well Nathan Harriel has played beside him,
Yeah,
because Nathan does offer a lot more defensively than Olivier did, and that may give Ali more confidence to attack, and may give him more willingness to risk certain moves and stuff like that because he knows Nathan can handle it. So I,
yeah,
I do think that it's a bit of a mix of a perfect storm with Nathan being there as well as him just being in better shape, more confident, whatever it might be. So, um, but again, the whole thing with Jose, it's a small damper on the whole big great night. But overall, who gives a shit? You won the game in an
no,
amazing fashion, and not to mention, Andre Blake gets his next clean sheet, which is always great for Andre because he deserves it after the Columbus game. I mean, he saved them from losing the game, so he deserves to get a big 7-0 clean sheet.
yeah, nice, easy, comfortable, clean
Yeah,
sheet bonus after being the best player on the pitch the following game.
yeah, and also another person we didn't even talk about so far was Leon Flock. Now Leon, I was
Got
talking
his
to
first assist, still got an assist.
yeah, so it was funny. So after the game, I was talking to Skylar from Union Nation, a great Twitter account. If you guys don't follow Union Nation, Skylar, I think his last name is Hoffner, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. So we were talking after the match, and he was basically saying like, we don't need Leon to be this like prolific scorer or anything like that. He just needs to do the right things offensively.
Yeah,
And last night during Julian's goal, which I thought was the best one of the night personally, was Gazze had the ball in a pretty like awkward position, but Leon saw the cut at the right time at the right angle.
yeah,
And we didn't see that from him last year as much. He's starting to kind of piece together these runs a bit. We've seen it a couple times. And that's all he has to do then is look for the cutback, look to see if he can get something in the middle of the box. We don't need him to score. We need him to facilitate once he's in the box.
yeah,
Um, and I thought I was really promising to see that from Leon because if he can be that type of player by the end of the season, if not next year, the sky's the limit for him because he may take over for Jose. Now, of course, they're two different kinds of players, but at least you would know he has some offensive ability rather than what we've seen over the past, 12 months.
yeah. No, I agree. I think again, it's good to see that the knowledge to, or at least to have the whereabouts to know like, oh look, there's a great opportunity for me to run into some
Right.
space and become another option. Again, it led to a great goal, and again, as you said, he's probably the heir apparent to that holding midfield role where Jose goes. Again, it's going to be an interesting summer because I mean, if the Union somehow manage to keep on to Jose and yeah,
Hi.
keep on to Jose and Kai, and then
Yeah.
they're really laughing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how they do the way they're playing. And as Jim Curtin has alluded to, Jose Martinez is currently he could be the best six in the league if he plays the way he has been on some of the matches we've seen so far. And I believe it. I mean, he's great. He has these amazing defensive moves. Offensively speaking, he can put passes like we saw last night. He can put a cross like we saw last year against Orlando. He can make things happen offensively. He's good enough with his feet to make something happen. So having somebody be the best six in the league will come with other teams from other countries looking at him, and possibly taking him. And I'm actually surprised that there's not more talks about Jose. As much talks as there's about
Yeah,
Kai, rightfully so, it seems like the Jose talks are really not as prevalent, or at least we're not hearing about it as enough. So
yeah,
I don't know. I think you're right. If we can hold on to at least one of them, that's a win in our books because
I
that's
know.
one less
So
thing we have to worry about.
yeah,
But well, I mean, what was your favorite goal tonight? We have 7 to choose from. So can you rank your goals for me on how you like thought?
jeez. Um, that's a tough one.
I know because they
None
were
of
all
them,
really good.
none of them weren't that bad. None of them were terrible as well. Like
No,
even the Carranza guy, you can link up to a nice build up play. And uh, I just think in terms of technical ability, I think the Carranza one with the overhead kick's probably number one. I think just to have the
yeah.
cheek and just the cheek and everything to be able to keep the ball down for such close range. It's probably my number one. I think the other six is just so difficult to sit there and rank with, to keep watching them a few times. And yeah, I'll just give you my number one. I'll say Carranza's overhead kick.
I like it. I think my favorite goal was definitely the Gazdag Ua goal, where
Yeah,
they kind of it was like a typical Union goal. Like you're on the counterattack, you're pressing forward, like defense is trying to scramble because you're just charging, and those two worked so well together in that moment, and you finally saw that chemistry you've been dying to see. So for
yeah,
me, not only was it the best goal for me personally, just to see that and see how confident Ua was on the ball, it was finally like a hope for the next game, that this will finally start to develop more. But I guess if you want to talk about the next game, since we don't want to have too long of a show tonight, since it's late for
yeah.
both of us, we play against Inter Miami on Wednesday, 8 o'clock p.m. I'll be covering that match. It'll be also be on ESPN Plus for those who are out of the area. Julian Carranza, because of the whole Miami loan, will not be playing, so he will
No,
be on the bench. So it's probably be Ua and I'm assuming Burke up top. And then I think everybody else is fair game for that game. I don't think anybody else is suspended or anything like that. So, what are your thoughts on this next trap game that we have in front of us with Miami?
um, it's gonna be a difficult game. I think again the Union have a weird record against Miami. That's
Hmm.
not the best of records either, is it? It's quite that's just right. It's a very inconsistent sort of record against them.
It's inconsistent. Yeah.
Very inconsistent, and they're not as bad as they were last year. To Miami aren't. I'm not gonna say they're really good, but again, they're much different in comparison to last year, and they will cause the Union problems.
Yeah. So if you guys remember earlier in the season, um, I'm gonna bring up the game real quick. We had tied the Red Bulls 1-1 after they had the 10 men with the red card, and everybody's pissed off, and we're thinking, okay, Miami's coming to town on a Wednesday. We're just gonna beat the shit out of them and have no problem. Well, we played pretty poorly, and we ended up drawing that game 0-0. If you remember last year, before the season really took off, when we were still in the CONCACAF early rounds, Miami came to Chester, and they stole a win from us late in that game.
Yeah,
And I don't remember if we beat them last year at all. I can't remember when we played in Miami. I think we lost that game as well. So we really haven't had the best luck against Miami.
no,
Um, and I'm not sure why, because they really haven't been good. Like Miami's been decent or been playing better, but they're not like a good team overall. And for some reason, this is one of those games that just makes you like kind of like nervous because you're really
yeah,
not sure what you're going to get. And then on top of that, after you play against Miami, you have a home game against New England,
movement,
you
yeah,
go to Orlando, and then you host Houston. So you have a relatively decent schedule to get some points. You don't want to blow it by dropping points against Miami again.
yeah.
Um, I don't know. I'm concerned by it. I think you share some concern, right? They could blow
Yeah.
this game.
I think you probably take a result, a point again, and you got to go on the road, warm conditions in Miami. It's not gonna be the easiest, won't be the easiest game either. So I mean, again, I think if you offered me a point at the start of you know, at the start of the evening, I'd probably take it.
Yeah, I agree. Um, I think the most important thing we can take from Wednesday's match is the fact that you don't want to look like you did against Chicago.
Yeah,
Against Chicago, they looked like they were just they didn't give a shit. They did obviously, but they just didn't look like they had the same energy as they did after the NYCFC win. And Ali mentioned that as well, and so did Jim. Like now we have to follow it up and take care of Miami. So best case scenario, I mean, absolute best case, they go down there, they beat them 2-0, and you continue to build off the momentum. Worst case scenario, obviously you lose, of course. I think even though a lot of people before the season started would take this game as a road point and be okay with it,
yeah,
I think after the last performance we just saw yesterday, people are going to want to win tomorrow on
absolutely.
Wednesday.
I
The,
think you'll
the
want to win, yeah.
simple, yeah,
But I don't. I think the expectation will be, oh, we need to win like by multiple goals again. I think if the Union can go in there and win 1-0. So again, I think these sort of results are difficult quite difficult to follow up at times.
Yep. Yeah. You're.
So I think if we just get a positive result on this one, you can move on to the next one and be big.
Yeah, I agree, man. But listen, we didn't want to be too late. Ready at 35 minutes. Both have busy nights. So I'm gonna get to the advertisements really quick. So I completely forgot to do it when the show started. So we
Yeah.
get Manscaped get 20% off plus free shipping with the code AATBirds at manscaped.com. OddsJam, the number one software platform for sportsbook bandits. They use an arbitrage calculator and more, so you never lose a bet again. Sign up today at oddsjam.com. Next up, we have Statement Games. Check out statementgames.com for a fun new way to fantasy sports entertainment. You can win gift cards and prizes. Free to sign up. Please sign up at statementgames.com. And then next is Vinny's Pizza and Restaurant in Allentown, Pennsylvania, serving up Italian cuisine. They also have pizza, pasta, burger, sandwiches, and more available for pickup or delivery. Order today at vinnyspizzapa.com. And of course, across the pitch gear at the AAT Sports Network shop. That's aatsportsnetwork.com/shop. If you just go to the website in general, you can see all of Dave's articles, my articles, all that stuff. And it's you get a little bit of everything. The Eagles are coming back soon. As you guys know, our website is mainly Eagles driven, but tell you what, Dave, our union coverage, bar none, right?
Go well, yeah.
That's right.
Go strong.
It's done good. Yeah, exactly.
Undefeated.
Uh, undefeated. Before we sign off, Dave, score prediction for Miami.
I'll say 1-1.
1-1. Okay. I don't like the pessimism. I'm gonna go optimistic. I'm gonna go 1-0, and I think Mikael Ua continues to score and gets another one. Maybe a late goal, but I think 1-0 is a win that I can be okay with. All right,
Yeah.
guys. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday evening. Doop.
Duke, go Union.